There's one thing I immediately want to say before I forget. I am someone that reads Spider-Man and Batman comics. Those are the ones I read the most. Because the library has free books, so I can read a bunch of them. I can read Spider-Man 2099. There's a few Miles Morales ones. There's Peter Parker ones. There's Batman comics. There's all kinds of different shit, and I read them whenever I get the chance to. I might be confusing him with another villain, but I'm pretty sure that Spot is not able to talk. Because, he fucking doesn't have a mouth. But in this movie, he has a lot of cool lines. He has most of his lines in this movie just work for edits. I like watching edits on TikTok. I enjoy that. A lot of people make really good edits on there. But anyways, he just has like so many, awesome lines, trying to hype shit up. And he's always been kind of just a silent character from what I remember. I'm pretty sure. And I know there's like, it's a superhero movie. Some things aren't going to make sense because they're fucking people with superpowers, but I did find it weird in this kind of throwaway scene in the movie where he like steals someone's hot dog and like puts it in his face. And then that's it. I guess he just ate food there. It never happens again, but that was kind of weird. Honestly, it's a really good movie. They have a lot of Spider-Man. PS4 Spider-Man shows up. I think he is voiced by Yuri. Josh Keaton voices Spectacular Spider-Man for one line. They unfortunately do that a lot in this movie. Here's a character, one line, background character for the rest. They also have Ben Reilly in here, Scarlet Spider. I've read a few of his comics too. I read the Clone Saga because it was at the library, and I've read a few other ones. Kane is not in this movie though. Scarlet Spider, the other one. Not from what I saw anyway. I'm pretty sure I did see Superior Spider-Man though. I've read quite a few of his books. Um, they also have Jessica Drew, but she's black. No problem with that. She was just kind of bland in this movie. She's pregnant just like she is in the comics, so I like that they kept that. I really liked her outfit. But she's just kind of bland out of all the Spider-Man in this movie. Garbage. I like Spider-Bite better, and she had 4 minutes of screen time. She was fucking funny. And I liked Spider-Punk. He was really good. I have not really read many of his comics. I read a comic with him in it. Had these little vampire fuckers that like ate spider people. I've read quite a few of those. And Spider-Punk was in one of them. They reference live action Spider-Mans and live action characters too. They have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up as like little cameos. And they do mention Tom Holland, but he is not shown. They show all these canon events and Andrew and Toby are there. But for Tom, he just gets a little reference near the beginning of the movie by 2099. He says something about, don't even get me started on that nerd from Earth 1999 or something, I think. And Doctor Strange. So he's clearly talking about, Tom Holland. Who whenever I eventually watch other Spider-Man movies, maybe I'll like him more, but for now, from Homecoming and the other movies he's been in as Spider-Man that I've seen, I haven't really cared for him too much. But I still haven't seen Far From Home or No Way Home. Only Homecoming and Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, stuff like that. Um. Anyways, bunch of Spider-Man. Penny Parker's here, but she doesn't really do much. They basically act like she's not even his friend, when she kind of was. There wasn't, the biggest best friend in the world that he knows everything about, but she was important. She was important. But here, she's just like any of the other Spider-Men, and she gets one line. because this movie really wants to focus on backstory for Gwen, which they should have talked about or somewhat set up in the first movie, because I've read some of her comics too. Not as much as other people, but I've read 3 or 4 of her comics. So I already knew a lot of her stuff, so it wasn't as interesting for me. I'm sure it helped a lot of other people that, really only watched this movie for Miles or for whoever they wanted to watch it for. But they gave a good chunk of this movie to Gwen. Probably at least 30 minutes. And that's not just the beginning of the movie. But the beginning of the movie is like nonstop. Her for probably a good 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. And then they also give her more later with her dad. It was a really good scene. But I've never been a huge fan of Spider-Gwen. Anyways, there's a bunch of Spider-Man. The whole plot is Miles is not a canon event, and someone else was supposed to get bit, and he was supposed to become Prowler, which messes up the timeline and causes another version of Miles to become the Prowler instead. And in that universe, there is no Spider-Man, because no one was ever bit. Because the Miles that became Prowler was supposed to be Spider-Man, and the Miles that became Spider-Man was supposed to be Prowler. And they set that up at the end of the movie. There is no post-credit scene. Honestly, this Spider-Man and Prowler thing probably could have been the post-credit scene. I think they most likely could have really jerked at people's heart. Because in the theater, I almost thought Miles got the shit punched out of him. He's talking to Aaron when he's tied up to a punching bag. And Aaron just hits the punching bag hard. And I thought he just obliterated Miles. But no, he hit the other side of the punching bag. And a lot of other people in the theater thought so too. A lot of people gasped when it happened. And I've seen people on the internet who also thought Miles got hit. I think they could have ended it right there. And then the post-credit scene would show that Miles is okay. And then here's the other version of Miles. Yeah, I don't think that would have been too crazy of an ending, too long either for a post-credit. A lot of people watch post-credits, and the first movie had post-credits too, and it set up this movie. It had Spider-Man 2099 trying to recruit people. And now this movie was a big part of Spider-Man 2099. And Oscar Isaac does a really good job as Spider-Man 2099. Still prefer him in the comics though. Maybe I'll change my mind by the time I get him a second time. But yeah, this movie was pretty good. Spot was an interesting villain. I think they changed him a little bit though. I could just look it up, but I'd rather not. Pretty sure he doesn't talk in the comics. Vulture's here. He was kind of entertaining. I've always liked Vulture. Wasn't a big fan of his design, but, multiple different universes, so it makes sense. He doesn't look like the one that I like. I've always preferred his green classic costume, and he's had a few other ones that have been pretty good in the comics. Like he had one in this one that I read that had the White Rabbit and Black Ant and Taskmaster, bunch of people in it. And he had a really good costume in that. Vulture's always been a pretty interesting villain, and it takes 3 people to take him down. It takes Spider-Man 2099, Jessica Drew, and Spider-Gwen to take him down. Spider-Man 2099 gets the final blow, because they want you to really understand how powerful the guy is, but they're all struggling to get this guy. And I love how they put in the fact that Spider-Man 2099 doesn't have spider sense. I wish they would have said it out loud, because a lot of people probably don't know that. They're just going to assume, because he's Spider-Man, that, he doesn't have spider sense. Um, there's a scene where Vulture's about to attack him. Gwen's kind of laughing, and then Vulture hits him. He doesn't have spider sense, so there you go. He got hit. Kind of cool reference, but for the people that don't know who he is, they're not going to understand that he doesn't have spider sense. There's an Indian Spider-Man in here. He was pretty funny. He had a few good one-liners, but he honestly didn't have a big part of this movie. I hope he gets a bigger part in the next movie, though I doubt it. He kind of just disappeared. I almost forgot one of the other live actions that I wanted to mention earlier. Prowler's in here. The live action version of Prowler that's voiced by the rapper dude. I don't remember his name. I just remember he was a rapper and people made a big deal about it when he was hired for the MCU because I thought he would do bad. Didn't even give him a chance. But he's in here. More screen time than I think he had in Homecoming too. May be wrong. So it was cool seeing him here. And yeah, they also have another one. I'm not sure who the other villain was, but there is a villain when Spider-Man's on the train because he uses a train to go get some cake or something. I've been recording the first one, right? I thought this one was called Into the Spider-Verse. What's the sequel called? Cross, I guess. That's crazy. Anyway, there's a villain when they get into the train and he just kind of goes out there and kicks them. They also have Peter parked car in here. I didn't really know much about. I kind of wish there was another Spider-Man in here, but I'm blanking on his name right now. But I did not see him in here. And since they're doing like multiple timelines or whatever, couldn't they do like the Future Foundation suit? I love that suit. It would have been cool to see that in the movie. Because they do have one from one of the comics I read. And I actually own this one. Where Spider-Man has the symbiote suit and he takes it off or something. I don't remember exactly how it happens. But he gets stuck at the Fantastic Four and he doesn't want them to know their identity. So he puts a bag on his head. And that one is in this movie. Just think the Future Foundation suit would have been cool too. Or the Stark, kind of Stark techie one from the comics. You know, there's just so many Spider-Man that I can kind of see why they didn't get them all in the movie. They also have another rapper in this movie. He has his very own Spider-Man in this movie, and he gets one line. You know, there's something they definitely did a lot. Was, hey, you get one line. You're done. Bye-bye. A lot of people are mad at Gwen, but I understand why. She didn't tell Miles and didn't visit him and all that stuff. Because her world was destroyed. If she would have fucked up a little bit, she was with Mitchell for months. She knows how he is. He definitely would have kicked her off the team and right back to her home world. And if he would have done that when she originally wanted to see Miles, because if she would have done it just a day or two after he gave her the bracelet and stuff to help her travel dimensions, her father still would have been pissed. He would not have gotten over it yet. But because of the fact that she's been gone for months, he had time to marinate in his thoughts, to realize how badly he fucked up with his daughter. So, he started to understand why she did what she did. And they're good again. They have a good relationship. But everyone's so pissed because Gwen isn't a true friend to Miles. Spider-Punk helped Miles and 3 seconds of knowing him. Spider-Punk helped him because he doesn't have any friends. If he gets sent back to his home world, he'll be fucking chilling. He doesn't have a bad world like Gwen had. He's okay. He has no reason to, not want to risk it. Same with Spider-Bite, though we don't get as much background on her. But Spider-Punk's a risk taker. He does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't have someone to be worried about. Gwen has an angry, pissed off father that can arrest her and is mad at her because he doesn't agree with what the Spider-Men are doing. But, in her world, it's just Spider-Gwen. He doesn't agree with what Spider-Gwen's doing. They also have the Lego Spider-Man in here, which was surprising. I'm pretty sure it's the one based off from the video games. It looks like the newer outfit from Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. He's only in here very briefly, though. They have the 60s Spider-Man, and they even have, I think her name's Sun Spider. I've only read one comic with her, but she's pretty cool. They could have put the gay Spider-Man in here, too, since this movie did release on Pride Month. But they did have a trans flag in Gwen's room, so I guess that was cool. Which pissed off a lot of people. There's even this guy on TikTok that called this movie too woke and didn't focus on the plot enough, and he was mad that there was an Indian Spider-Man in India. What a fucking idiot. But honestly, that's really all I have to say for this movie. It was really fucking good. Honestly, no, I do wish Ben Reilly was a little bit more serious. Because it's not like, oh, you can't use the excuse, it's a kid's movie. They gotta tone down the characters. When they went ham with Mitchell O'Hara, and he was a main character, the dude was serious and beating the shit out of people, and he was about to murder Vulture. He slammed Miles into the fucking ground and called him his steak. He was showing off. And there was another thing actually I didn't really care for, and that was the fact that main characters constantly had their mask off because they wanted you to see their facial expressions. I guess that's not too much of a problem, but it bothered me because, why are they walking around in public with masks off? There's like one scene where Miles swings around for a little bit with no mask on, and then turns invisible to like spy on Gwen. The whole time he has his mask off, all invisible, which makes more sense. Now that he's invisible. But yeah, they did that a lot. And Spider-Man, the Peter Parker from the first movie that teamed up with Miles and became his mentor, he doesn't even wear his costume in this movie, which kind of sucked. I wish I would have seen it at least once. But honestly, that's about it.